Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlicker, shills, Dutchley, search peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks. I'm Useful Idiot. Welcome. And so now we have the showdown with China about these tariffs. As everybody's seen, Trump started off with reciprocal tariffs of 34%, and then they went up to 50%, and then they went up to 104%. China retaliated, and Trump raised the tariffs to 125%. And so if China doesn't come to the table, we're going to have a really interesting situation with trade between the U.S. and China coming to a standstill, which would be incredible and have a huge impact, considering all the goods that are shipped from China to the United States, and then all the components for so many things. And China is in a very strong position. Not only do they have this huge manufacturing base in their country, which the U.S. doesn't have anymore, they're the #1 shipbuilder in the world now as well, and they also have control of rare earth minerals, and those are needed for a lot of components for electronics. So even if the U.S. could manufacture them, which they can't, they wouldn't have the rare earth minerals to build iPhones, for example. And people don't know how to make shoes in the United States anymore, so we have to get our shoes from Nike manufacturing plants in China, and all the cheap clothing and everything else. It's just an immense amount of economic product coming from China to the U.S. And not only that, the restriction of some technologies and rare earth minerals affects the United States military and all the components of the U.S. military. So the Chinese can really hit America where we live, literally and figuratively. But one of the more interesting developments is that the last 25 years, China has really put themselves in a position of strength. And so they've been building up to that since the 80s, and they were allowed into the WTO and expanded their international markets. And then we had all the offshoring by U.S. manufacturers over to China and Vietnam and those countries. And China has all the things that the U.S. is missing now: cheap labor, supportive infrastructure, tax breaks, cheap land, great supply lines. They have everything going for them. But more importantly, they overtook the U.S. as a manufacturing giant in the last 20 years, from 2000 to 2024. U.S. trade has only risen 167% since then, which may seem a lot, but Chinese trade has risen 1,700%. And there's a great map I looked at that showed that there's all these markets that the U.S. used to dominate, and we used to be the biggest trading partners of vast swaths of the globe. And China has virtually taken over. They're the biggest trading partners for almost every country in Africa. They have economic development programs going on all over Africa. They're one of the biggest trading partners for all of South America now, and have economic development programs going in all over South America, even Greenland, interestingly enough. Certainly they've increased their trade exponentially with Russia, while the U.S. has reduced ours considerably. With Russia, of course, due to the war, that's only gotten worse. And then China is one of the biggest trade partners with the Middle East, particularly countries like Iran, Iran, that is a pariah to the U.S. But China has done the same thing that they did in Africa and South America, and they've moved in and created all these economic development programs in the Middle East, and also Eastern Europe, interestingly enough. So China has moved into even part of Europe. They're a huge trading partner with India. They're even a huge trading partner with Australia and most of Southeast Asia. And it's interesting to look at economic trade maps going back before 2020, when the United States dominated all of those markets. And it's really amazing to see the fact that China is literally taken over through economic development programs and trade. They've literally taken over all of South America, Africa, Russia, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, India, Australia, and Southeast Asia. So they're in a serious position. to be in an economic battle with the United States right now, and they're negotiating for a position of great strength and all the things I outlined earlier in the video. So before this, the United States having a standoff with China would have been more of an even playing field. But now the last 25 years, China is in a place of incredible economic strength, and their economy as well. And so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Trump is not dealing with the China of the past. Um, China has become a global economic force in the last 25 years. And so they're definitely in a position to go toe to toe with the United States and any economic negotiations put forward. But that said, they're definitely in a position where um, even with their domination in world global markets and economic development programs that they have all over the world, they can't risk having all their exports being cut off, being shipped to the United States. And so, um, so there's some parity there, but I think they're pragmatic and they realize that even though the United States is in a weak position for negotiating in some respects, China has a lot to lose as well. And I think overall, Trump and China have a good relationship and probably, hopefully, will work something out. But it's interesting how the economic um, parity between the countries has shifted so dramatically in such a short period of time. And just like all the other aspects of Trump and his economic policies, we live in a different world right now, and tariffs is a good example of that. We live in a world of globalization, and China is fully aware of that and has embraced it. And it could end up being that the rest of the world continues in a globalist mindset, and the United States will be on the outside if things continue the way they are going now. I'm trying to have faith that this will all come out in the end, and that it'll all be worth it. But like I say, China is a great example of how we live in a different world now, and Trump's economic advisors are well to take that in mind. I'm a useful idiot, don't you be one too?